Marty Friedman, ex-Megadeth lead guitarist, an amazing solo career, still putting out albums 20 plus years after leaving Megadeth. The man is nonstop and just infamous in the world of guitar. And a lot of guys keep referring to him as a shredder, or that he's so great because he shreds and that he's so melodic. But those terms are so generic. So today we're going to look a little closer at what Marty does and figure out specifically, why is Marty Friedman just so good? Hey, you guys, this is Saint Luminous. Thank you for joining me and Dead Lava Lamp over here again. Like I said, we're going to look at Marty Friedman. And the first thing I want to talk about is that Marty is really good at following the chords. This is just like I talked about before in my other video about Joe Satriani. Following the chords is really what makes someone melodic. So those of you that are saying, well, he just plays melodic. Well, exactly what do you mean? What's going on underneath that makes it so melodic? And what it is that they're following the chords. So today I'm going to start with Tornado of Souls. We're going to look at just the beginning because he does such a great job of following chords. Okay, so let's look at Tornado of Souls. It's in B minor, so it's important, and it's important to know the chords. So here's what Dave Mustaine is playing on the chords, all power chord stuff. Remember, in B minor, so there we go, a B minor chord, and then he goes down to a G, and then goes to an E, then to an F sharp, then to an A sharp, and then starts the whole thing. So the chords, once again, B, G, E, F sharp, A sharp, B. Okay, so he starts on the B chord. So what does Marty do? Remember, he's following the chords. The first note that Marty plays is a B because a B chord is being played. But the way Marty does it is so cool. He starts up here. He starts down here, right? And I love it because this is such a cool, meaty sound of the neck. So that's an A right there, but he bends it up to the B. There's the B, right? So it sounds so good, right? That's why it just works. There you go. So he nails that B chord, really shows off with that bend. Really shows off, here is the B chord. All right, so from there, he starts to move up the B minor scale. And when he plays that note, that's a D. As soon as he plays that note, you know what Dave Mustaine has done? Switch down to the G chord. The D that he plays at that moment is a part of the G chords. It is the fifth of the G chord. That note right there, the D, but Marty plays it an octave higher. He plays that, and then Marty moves up to the E. But Dave is still playing G. So here's something that's a little, kind of breaking the rules a little bit about matching the chords exactly. Dave is playing the G chord, but Marty moved up an eighth note from the D. He goes to the E. So you can hear it doesn't match the chord exactly because it's not part of a G or a G major or G minor, but it does sound cool. Yeah, and then he bends it up. So even though that doesn't match the G chord exactly, it is part of the key of B minor, and that's part of the melodic there. He's matching the chord in terms of his groove, but not so much in the chord notes. But after that, he does match the chords in terms of chords notes, right? He does his little thing. Okay, then he goes back to this D. And he bends it up to the E. You know why he does that? Because the next chord is an E. So he matches the chord there. It's an E. He plays the note E, except he bends up to it. That's why it sounds so cool. Okay, then Marty plays a fun little lick because he knows that the next chord after that E is going to be the F sharp. Okay, and he gives some major vibrato on this note. And at that point, Dave Mustaine has gone to the F sharp. But it's still part of the F sharp chord. It's a C sharp that he's wiggling around here. Let me play that C sharp at the same time. You hear? You hear how it just sits there? It's part of an F sharp chord. F sharp, the C sharp note, and he's sitting there wiggling it. So of course it sounds great melodic. He's following those chord changes. Okay, now at this point then, Dave is going to chunk away. And then finally the A sharp, B. Now Marty does not match the A and the A sharp. Instead, Marty plays a cool little lick, knowing that really Dave's going to go here, move up, and then sit there on the B. So what does Marty do? He plays a cool lick that leads it back into the start of the riff at B. As soon as he plays that note, Dave has already started. Dave has just started. But Marty finishes with that note. It's part of the B chord. I mean, you don't even have to know chord theory. Just look at your neck. If this is your B power chord, look at where your fingers are at. That's a note of the chord. Where my ring finger is, that's a note of the chord. This one right here, well, that's where Marty ends. You can even see right on the neck, that is part of the chord. That's why it sounds so good and so melodic. That's what's going on. When you say somebody sounds melodic, they're really just matching the chords that are playing underneath. And this is something Marty does really, really well. The other thing, too, about that little solo is how Marty starts it very slow, right? Well, not slow, but long notes, okay? So at the start, because that riff is heavy. You get the idea. You guys know it is really heavy. Marty has a lot of choices, but what does he do? They're ready to kick in that solo. They do some drum fills, and how does Marty start it? Oops. B chord. So he's not doing flashy, fast licks. They're just licks that are going slow, showing off the chord changes in his solo. And then as the solo continues, Marty keeps building on it. So he's really created a theme, and something like that is what makes Marty so amazingly good. He's kind of mapped out this solo to start with long notes, really following the chords, being melodic, and as it goes on, he starts to play a little faster, more intricate things, a lot of 16-note triplets, really making this thing sound insane, building this up to and ending the solo. So good on Marty. It's part of what makes him so fucking good. I'm going to start this whole thing over. Yeah. Fuck that one up totally. All right, the next thing that makes Marty so good is rhythm. His sense of rhythm. When he does his solos, he has such a good sense of the beat and where he's at in the middle of the beats, and he knows how to divide the beat up into some fun ways. So we're going to look at one of his solos from Hangar 18 toward the end of the song. Dave Mustaine is shredding away, but Marty decides, hey, I'm going to counter that with some long notes again. And so check it out. Here, watch how he starts this solo. Okay, Dave is already shredded, and you're okay, so you feel like, oh, here comes a shredding part, but Marty, no. He lets it hang out. Bow, bow, bow. Listen to how it works with the beat. Very easy, actually. 3, 4, bow, bow, bow. That's it. Bow. Bow, bow, bow. And then has a couple of 16th notes to kind of play that same rhythm. Bow, 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 da, da, da. How cool is that? It's it's rhythm-wise, it's nothing weird. It's just, it hangs out a little longer and just opens up this solo into something like, whoa. It's counter to what Dave Mustaine just did, which was just shred away. Now, after that, though, Marty does some 16th note action. Let me stop right there, because I did something. I added a triplet kind of a sound to it. I also dropped my pick. Damn. Okay, so I played 16th notes. The notes are really weird and outside, and that doesn't really matter. It's part of the cool factor, but it's the fact that he just played del, del, da, 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 16 notes. Da, 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 da. And then does a 16th note triplet. So listen to that, how it sounds. 3. I'm going to play it slow, so you get the feeling of, whoa, that is trippy, the way he's messing with the beat a little bit, with what he was doing with his rhythm. Da 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 da. Right? It's really trippy. And he goes ahead and puts some more triplet action there. That's why it's sounding like, whoa, I mean, this guy is like got some crazy stuff. It's not that crazy, really. He's adding these 16th note triplets to his 16th note. So it ends up, the 16th notes sound badass, and then to play these 16th note triplets, it sounds like he suddenly put on the afterburners real quick. But he keeps it so small that by the time you go, wait, what was that? He stopped. He's moved on to something else. So it's not very predictable. And at the end of that solo, I love what he does. He plays eighth notes. You guys, especially if you're beginning music students, you know what eighth notes are. Marty uses eighth notes. Check this out. On beat 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. That's how he ends the solo. This is a cool way to end it because he ends it before the first beat. So let me do that again so you could hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I messed it up. 1, 2, 3. Cool way to end it. Compared to what feels normal, which is to play on the and, compared to this, ending with that bend on the top of the beat. So let me do it the way that might feel more normal, but not. This isn't the way Marty does it. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's different than 1, 2, 3. Right? So what a cool way to end the solo. So it's a sense of rhythm, and Marty changing up the rhythm and when he plays his solos. That's part of what makes him so damn good. Next, it's Marty's use of outside notes. Many of you who've probably really listened hard at Marty's music have noticed how he uses these really, what you might consider weird or not so normal notes or not so normal ways of bending. And that's absolutely true. That is part of Marty's sound. Besides following chords, besides playing, messing with the rhythm, Marty tends to use these outside notes. And it really adds a certain flavor to the way he plays. I'm going to play something from his solo album now. No more Megadeth stuff. From his Scene solo album. I love this melody because it's in A. And it's clean. So it's not a distorted thing. So Marty needs to put as much emotion and as much mojo into this, but he's playing clean. So it's in A, and for the most part, it's in A major, really. Yeah, it's in A major because you can hear it in the melody. The melody is really happy. Okay, so some of you guys may know an A. Let's do A major pentatonic so we can look at the notes. Okay, so some of you might know this. So Marty plays right over here. He's messing with this little part. I'm going to mess over here. So he plays, since there's an A, there's like a synthesizer playing A. Here's what Marty does. Just to start, it's like, whoa, that's it? To start, those are his first two notes, and he lets a little space there to breathe. So hopefully this also tells you, you don't need to shred away, play lots of notes just to have an emotional impact on people listening to your music. Look at Marty. This is all he did to start. Okay, now those notes are in the A major chord, a C sharp and an E. And check it out. For those of you, again, you don't have to know a lot of music theory, but let me make a big old A bar chord. Okay, let me just look at my fingers. My middle finger is playing this note. My bar is covering that note over there. So automatically I can see these two notes are part of the A major chord. Again, sticking with chord tones. But watch what Marty does after this. He does a cool bend with this note, and you can hear it in the key of A major. Wait a minute. That's not a very happy sound. That's a very wicked, devious, mysterious kind of a sound. But listen to what Marty does. He plays that note, but he bends up to this note, the F sharp, which is part of the A major scale or A major pentatonic. That is part of it. So I'm going to play it for you. Listen to how he's taken this note right here, the F, and bending it up to play this. Okay? So he starts off. Now here it comes. That works. Let me try to play it with my A string playing. That works. So Marty does this a lot in his solos, not just here, but in many of his solos. He takes a note that's part of the scale, and he bends up a half step to it. So I follow Marty's lead. I do this on some of my solos. If I want to play that note in the key of A, I might bend this one. That's a very Marty-esque thing to do. So cool. So let me continue that because he plays around with this, right? Oh, and he does something else. Look at this. He bent this. And then takes this note, a C, which you can hear. Wait a minute. That's not a happy sound. That's either a very bluesy or sad sound. But Marty, he starts by bending it, a pre-bend, and goes down to this A. So check it out. Let me do the whole thing. Here's the outside note he's playing with that he bends up, and here's the other outside note that's not part of the A major scale. It's really part of A minor, but he bends it up. It's almost like a quarter tone. He doesn't quite bend it up to that. It's almost like a quarter tone. Let me play it, and you can hear how subtle it is. Beginning. How cool is that, right? Yeah, very, very cool. And then let me continue with it because he uses this again, but he doesn't bend it. He actually adds that as part of the melody. He plays this. Here it goes. Listen to that for the A. The A is playing underneath an A. How cool does that sound? Playing this note that's not part of A major and it's not part of A major pentatonic, but it has a nice sound, even though you can hear it. It's an eerie sound, but if you use it as what we call a passing tone, it's a sweet, wonderful sound. So that's an example from Marty's solo album, Scenes. The song is called West. And I love that melody, especially the little subtleties and bending outside notes, and how cool it is to use that note as a passing tone, but you're still playing in that A major key. You guys, so good. Okay, now the last thing that makes Marty Friedman so fucking good is his vibrato. Oh man, his vibrato is from hell. It's incredible because, you watch a lot of these guys who shred. I'm just going to say, I watched some guy shred today I think I saw it on Facebook. This guy's all and all over the necks, totally shredding away. Very impressive technique. His vibrato, sucked. And that is the big problem with a lot of these flashy, shreddy guys. They can't vibrato their way out of a paper bag. But Marty is different. This is part of what makes Marty so good. Really puts that mojo into his vibrato. Really just wringing every last little piece of emotion out of that note. And so rather than me do it, this time I'm gonna have you listen to the master do it. This is from, I think it's B. Is it B? Yeah, it's from B. And this is from his third solo album. I think that's his third introduction. So I'm going to play it. Listen to the master and how Marty does this vibrato. Listen to this. All right. Did you hear that? Oh my God. How many of these shred guys you see online nowadays, and even out there when we used to have live music, sit there and really just ring every last note? That's something blues players do. That's like Stevie Ray Vaughan would do something like that. Jeff Healey would do something like that. A guy that plays heavy metal and shred, they don't sit there just ringing the living hell out of this for everything they've got. But Marty Friedman does. His vibrato is wicked. And he really inspired me, along with Guthrie Govan, actually, to really spend some time practicing my vibrato. So you guys practice vibrato. If you have play guitar, play that vibrato and keep working on it. It's going to take you years to develop like this. Even Marty has admitted it's years to get that kind of vibrato. But he does it, and it makes him stand out from all these other fast players. Okay, my friends, I want to thank you for joining me today and hearing a little bit of detail why Marty Friedman is so good. If you like this video, go over here and look at the next one. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and leave a comment down below too. Tell me what you think. Tell me some reasons why you think Marty Friedman is so fucking good. I'll see you guys very soon.